He said his movies were bad and called him an actor's enemy. Robert Duvall hated this famous actor so much that he turned down millions of dollars to stay away from him. Their nasty fight got so bad that John Wayne had to step in and end it. Duvall gave a harsh answer when asked if he would work with him again. Never. It's okay with me if I never do. You'll be shocked when you find out who Duvall's most hated co-star is. His birthday is January 5, 1931, and he was born in San Diego, California. His family had strong ties to both the arts and the military. Mildred, his mother, loved singing and often did shows in the area. Duvall was related to Confederate General Robert E. Lee through her family tree. This connection would later help him get one of his biggest movie parts. William, his father, was a very respected officer in the Navy. At age 39 he became a captain. Structure and rules were important when you grew up in a military home. There were many moves for the Duvall family. They lived on military bases in Maryland, Rhode Island, and Virginia, among other places. That's where Robert lived most of his childhood. Robert didn't want to join the Navy, even though his father wanted him to. Afterward he said that acting was the only thing he was good at in school. He became interested in playing at a young age. The first school was Severn School in Maryland and the second was Principia School in Missouri. He studied theater at Illinois' Principia College after high school because that was something he was interested in. He got his degree in theater in 1953, but life got in the way of him becoming an actor full-time. He joined the Army that same year. He served for a year right after the end of the Korean War, and was based at Georgia's Camp Gordon. His time in the service was different from that of his father. He was only a private first class, and he often made fun of the fact that he wasn't very good at military things. That time though, something important did happen. In a neighborhood theater production he took part. He thought about what he really wanted to do when he had that small part in the playroom service. He did something big in 1955. He got ready to leave for New York City, to really learn how to act at the neighborhood Playhouse School of the Theater. The school taught the Sanford Meisner method, which was all about being honest and comfortable on stage. He wasn't by himself. Dustin Hoffman, Gene Hackman, and James Caan were all in his class. They were all young, poor, and driven. It wasn't easy to live in New York. He did any job he could get just to pay the rent. He worked in stores, handled mail, and even drove trucks. He didn't have to act for these jobs, but they helped him understand regular people, which helped him give his characters more meaning later on. Hoffman, Hackman, and he all lived in the same small room together. They often switched off sleeping on a fold-out couch. They had a hard time together, but they kept going. After many years, all three of them would become Hollywood stars and be nominated for dozens of Oscars, and a lot of wins between them. It was on stage that Duvall got his first real chance. People took notice of him when he played a man with problems in The Midnight Caller. A writer named Horton Foote saw him in that part and later helped him get even bigger roles. It took a lot of work for Duvall to get into plays like A View from the Bridge, which won him an Obie Award in 1965. But it was a quiet but strong movie part that made everyone aware of him. He played Boo Radley in To Kill a Mockingbird in 1962. Boo doesn't say a word in the movie, but Duvall made the part stand out. With just his eyes and body language, he showed how mysterious and kind Boo was. Horton Foote thought he was right for the part because he had seen him on stage. I agreed with author Harper Lee. She sent Boo a message that said, "Hey Boo, get ready." Duvall stayed out of the sun for weeks so that he would look pale and ghostly. He bleached his hair white to look like Boo from the book. These small choices helped him blend in with the part. Boo doesn't show up until the very end of the movie, which builds tension. He protects Scout and her brother when she finally meets him and softly says, "Hey Boo." Not the monster some people thought he was. He turns into the story's innocent figure, the mockingbird, who shouldn't be hurt. Duvall had one line in the movie at first, but it was cut. He didn't need words in the end. His show was strong even without them. Robert Duvall's performance as Tom Hagen in the Godfather movies is still one of the most famous in movie history. Hagen was more than just the Corleone family's lawyer. They trusted him and knew that he could solve their problems with words instead of violence. Duvall gave him a quiet power in the role. He lived with the family, but he never really fit in. Even though Vito Corleone took him in as a child, he always felt like a stranger because he was German and Irish. He wasn't like Michael or Sonny. He didn't want power or do things based on how he felt. Hagen was steady, smart, and always planned ahead. Duvall's acting in The Godfather, which came out in 1972, stood out. Hagen was an important part of the story. He was there for every big choice and was often the one who calmed things down or dealt with tough situations. Early on he did something that made him popular. In a polite way, Hagen asked Hollywood producer Jack Wills to put Johnny Fontaine in a movie while he was in town. The Corleones sent a message when that didn't work. When Wills woke up, the head of his prized horse was in bed with him. It wasn't Hagen who made the threat, but he made sure it got through. Hagen had a bigger part in The Godfather Part 2, which came out in 1974. After an attempt on Michael's life, he left the country to find out who was behind it. He left Hagen to fill in as Don while he was away. The fact that they did that showed how much they trusted him. But things changed. Michael started to push Hagen out as he became cooler and meaner. He didn't tell him anything, which Vito would never have done. In quiet ways, Duvall showed this change. Hagen was always faithful, but you could tell he wasn't sure. He stood by the family even though he didn't always agree with Michael. In 1972, Duvall was up for the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. He didn't win, but the fact that he was nominated said a lot. Other figures, like Pacino's Michael or Brando's Vito, were loud and intense, but Hagen was calm and steady. He didn't need important talks. He didn't need to scream. The way he spoke gave him power. Stay relaxed and watch out. Because of this, he was one of the most interesting characters in the series. A lot of people thought Duvall would come back when The Godfather Part 3 was announced, but by 1990 things had changed in the movie world. There was an offer of $8 million for Al Pacino to play the part again. Duvall was given a lot less. Even though he didn't expect equal pay, he said no when he saw the big difference. In the end, he said it didn't matter to him if Pacino had made twice as much money, but he left when the difference was 3 or 4 times what it was. Since Duvall wasn't there, the writing had to be changed. Hagen wasn't added to the story. He was written out. They said he died in the movie. B.J. Harrison, played by George Hamilton, was brought in as a new family lawyer. It wasn't the same though. Both fans and reviewers saw that something was missing. Even the director, Francis Ford Coppola, said that Duvall's departure changed the whole plot of the movie. At first the story was going to be about Michael and Hagen's friendship, and maybe even a power struggle between them. That idea was dropped though when Hagen left. A lot of people think it hurt the movie. Duvall never moved away from the first 2 movies. Even though he didn't come back for the third one, he told stories from the set over the years. The most well-known one was about Marlon Brando. He didn't like remembering lines, so he hid cue cards all over the set. They were behind sets sometimes. They were stuck to walls sometimes. Duvall had Brando's lines taped to his chest in one scene. Brando thought that trying to find the right words helped his acting seem more real. Some people thought it was lazy, but the effects were clear. His role as Don Vito Corleone became famous. He even won an Oscar for it, but he reportedly didn't want to take it. Robert Duvall has played some of the most memorable movie roles. Even though his parts are big, they always feel real. He played Lieutenant Colonel Bill Kilgore in Apocalypse Now. Kilgore was a fighter who was both cute and scary. Francis Ford Coppola directed the movie, which showed the Vietnam War in a dreamy and scary way. Kilgore had nothing to be scared of. He played war like it was a game. He said, "I love the smell of napalm in the morning," which is one of the most famous lines in movie history. It says everything about Kilgore in that line. He saw death as a victory, and didn't seem to notice the pain around him. Duvall didn't just make up that character. His own father was an admiral in the Navy and had been in the Army himself.